Opening Thursday program of the fall season here at Gulfstream Park West, a very pristine-looking turf course and overall idyllic conditions for thoroughbred racing. Our first fast and firm afternoon, 8 races on the card on this Thursday, October the 8th. Jason Blewett, Ron Nicoletti joining you from that tower shot to our respective studios. Hope you're doing well, Ronnie, as again we settle in over the next few hours, next 5 hours or so, beginning at 12:05. We'll have 8 races, a pretty nice guarantee, and that moves us along a path into a holiday weekend, my friend, with racing on this coming Monday.
Yeah, we drew Saturday's races already. We'll have 9 on Saturday. It's interesting to see what we'll have for Sunday and Monday. But as you mentioned, we're running right through Monday this weekend. That Rainbow Six guarantee you were talking about, $75,000.
Absolutely. Even bigger in terms of just the dollar amount concerning the Stronach 5 here tomorrow afternoon. And really, for the first time in my mind, not only do we have the opening honors with our Friday finale, race number 8 here at GPW, beginning the procession in that $100,000 guaranteed Stronach 5, but this is very much an East meets West type sequence there, with the first 3 obviously on this coast, and then we head out to California for Santa Anita and Golden Gate Fields.
Yeah, it reminds me of the old Sunshine Millions years ago when it was West Coast against East Coast. So that was always a lot of fun.
That was a great series, wasn't it? I mean, when it was Florida versus Cali, the Florida breds versus the California breds.
Yeah, we just kept beating them up, so they had to stop.
I know it was pretty imbalanced. You know what I mean? Kind of like another state going against Kentucky or something like that. But it was a cool idea while it lasted. We saw some big efforts, and obviously, I mean, a number of Hall of Fame Florida breds throughout history for sure. Now, as we move forward, we'll check out the Rainbow Six guarantee. That'll start in the third, a $75,000 guaranteed pot this afternoon, and 4 turf races on the program. And in fact, we are on the turf for the opening leg of the early pick 5 and the first of 8 on this opening Thursday program. Now, I'm 312 to start this thing, a $16 ticket that I built around in the 5th race. The one Lake Parima down on the rail for Kent Sweezy. It's just now or never against this field. And I think she's got a different race, mind you, but I get the same kind of vibes I did yesterday with a horse like Grand Old Par, who just looked a little more talented and a little classier on paper. And I think she's a very likable favorite, and a favorite I have confidence in to close things down. I do like the 4th race this afternoon, where you've got that Presque Isle Invader out of a fast race, and I'll work from the back forward. The number 3 horse in Heals the Soul, who I just don't see this horse being anywhere near the 8-1 morning line. I think he's the biggest story of that race, but he runs against a number of locally based contingent runners, including the 11, This Dude's No Fool, who I picked on top. Playing it pretty safe there in the 3rd, preferring the number 6 horse in Fast Venezuela. I've got a 4-horse spread, and when we get to the 2nd, we'll elaborate on the track condition and all that stuff. Who's going to make the lead in that race? I think the pace may trump everything in terms of just the pecking order. And getting back to this first race using the 3 and 12 in the opener on the afternoon, where we've got 11 horses, I just think I've got the best of both worlds, where the hierarchy has to begin with the 3 Our Little Devil, and I think I have the most interesting new face in the mix on the outside in the 12 Madame Rouge. But again, in terms of just overall last-out performance doing this on the turf, we will go back and look at the finale at Gulfstream Park on September the 17th. Our Little Devil prompted the pace 3 to 4 wide and just ran fine in defeat for trainer William Deaton. And assuming, Ronnie, this filly by Daredevil runs back to this performance, which I think she's going to be up to the task. I mean, she's just the horse to beat, I think, off this effort.
Yeah, that was from a tough outside post, and she was just so game. And you'll watch this horse going to the wire. You can't really call it the inside horse. Just gets up and under the shadow of the wire to beat it, breaking from post 3 this afternoon. Our Little Devil. So I just thought she was the one to beat in there. I like the fact that you used Madame Rouge on your ticket to make her career turf debut for Amador Sanchez. Showed that 2nd beat and a half length against those 16 maidens on that sealed sloppy track at Delaware. Found a quick stat I'll show you before you tell us about this horse. Madame Rouge, dirt to turf for Amador Sanchez sprints. 4 for 24, 17%, 54% money. 2-3-1 is the return investment just over the last couple of years, and I think this horse might be a sneaky in here. Jace?
Yeah, I do too. I like her as a new face, and although she is saddled with post 10 now, which maybe isn't as daunting as the 12 hole because there's a couple of scratches in the body of the field, or at least inside of where she had drawn. Again, post 10 not as daunting, and this strikes me as the kind of race with her early speed where we might have a field gapped out fairly significantly by the time they hit the bank of the far turn, and I don't see her having all that difficult of a time either making the lead or basically playing like a first over speed beneath Hector Berrios. And she ran fine. I like in her last start at Delaware, I like the Tapizars on the turf, and she is related to a minor turf winner in the family. I'll take Madame Rouge as the new face. Now, as we get onto the main track and we go a mile and 70 here in the dirt opener, and again, this is a Thursday program split down the middle with 4 in the grass and 4 over the dirt. You've got a 62.53 and up claimer, and for me, in looking at this field and a number of familiar faces who have danced a lot of dances collectively, I think before we get into who we like, we have been dealing through three racing cards here since last Saturday on at Gulfstream Park West, where we have run a total of 24 races on the dirt. 50%, 12 of those 24 races have been won wire to wire, and even the one filly, we had one close from fairly out of it yesterday in Grand Etiquette, but 3 of 5 races were wired yesterday, and the other race that wasn't wired, not won by Grand Etiquette, Shady Summer and Demo Wonder ran 1-2 around the track by a pole. So does So Long Chuck maybe move up here? I didn't necessarily love him when I did the work on the race, but I had to include him as part of my early pick 5 just because what if he gets loose out there?
Well, he's the one to speed, and I kept going back and forth and didn't really know what to do with him. I'm glad you added him to your ticket in it because if it's speed again, I think he can be very dangerous in this spot. So, well, it'll be interesting to see. We're starting the day with a turf race, so this is where you have to mark down when you're getting your Rainbow Six ticket together, how these races play on the main track today. If we see speed again, you make that decision.
Now, you like Lil Meatball in this spot, who's a year older. He's had a lot of success in limited action here at Gulfstream West. Maybe not the same horse that he was, but that being stated, he has run well in Miami Gardens, and I think the good news, the silver lining is his last effort seems to be a step in the right direction.
Yeah, returning to, as you mentioned, one of his favorite racetracks, so 5 races with those 3 wins, and stretching out to the mile 70-yard distance today. First start since rallying to finish second. Again, similar to that was that one-turn mile across town. Rowan Crichton, Alberto Burgos trying to reignite that horse for course status this afternoon. Just an angle that I like to use early on during the meet when we first get to Gulfstream Park West. With the speed, the way it's been playing 2 of those 3 days on and off track. We'll see how, if this track starts to turn around this afternoon.
And again, this racetrack and me liking the 3 Are You Talking to Me, it's a definite concern. When I did the work on this card Monday afternoon into our deadline for the program and website on Tuesday late morning, I was hoping he might catch a track, for lack of a better term, that might just be a little fairer with a horse of his running style because he's more of an off-the-pace grinding type. There's probably a long shot status that this horse is going to run back to his efforts, and there was a series of one good race after another, like late winter into early spring. That might be a long shot, but I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt nonetheless because I think in hindsight, and I liked him last time at Gulfstream, and he just didn't run. I'm hoping it was a case where 6.5 furlongs around one turn is just not his game, and he's getting back to what he wants to do, just a longer race this afternoon, and maybe he wakes up and trainer Matt Williams almost knocked off 2 birds with 1 stone last time out, getting a prep under this horse's belt, a more suitable distance today. I see you've got some interest in the 2 Tipsy Kitten, who I felt on paper was maybe narrowly the horse to beat in this race. I think he deserves to be favored.
Yeah, he was third behind that Little Meatball at that mile last time out, but he might have the upper hand this afternoon when around handling 2 turns. He defeated 5 rivals going a mile and an eighth back on July 24th, so I think the mile 70 yards might be able to see this horse turn the tables on Little Meatball this afternoon. Interesting to see how my top selection handles that little bit added distance today. Little Meatball more like a sprinter type, 6 furlong type horse for me. And I threw in Desert General, who's going to the Antonio Sano barn.
Sounds good as we take a little breather here with the early double complete, back with the Rainbow and 75K after this. Promo code Sport of Kings over at firstbet.com. Sign up, and one of the best ADWs in the business there. Very user-friendly interface. Jason and Ronnie back with all of you in the meantime as we set sail, Ronnie, in Thursday's third, a trip back to the turf. And speaking of the green, we'll chase the rainbow with the guarantee.
Yeah, we got a $75,000 guarantee. I got a $43.20 ticket. I went with subsidiary on top, but I also used Better Than Your Ex and Fast Venezuela. If you know my Rainbow Six tickets, do not like to get knocked out in the first, so I used 3 deep in there. And race number 4, that horse you were alluding to before with number 3, Heals the Soul. This dude's no fool. And Big Frank I had to use on my ticket. Just working so well for Saffy Joseph Jr. Didn't want to get beat by Saffy. 2 deep in race number 5, Lake Parima, as you said, probably absolutely the one to beat, but I did use Let's Not Get Too Excited also on the ticket. In race number 6, I went 2 deep again. This is my time, a really sharp winner, 2 starts package. Pretty classy horse, I believe, in Beijing Girl. I'm also using on there the number 4. And race number 7, 2 deep again with Famous Fact, who really closed nicely up the inside last time out, stretching out around 2 turns, 10-1 on the morning line. Rocket Joe Cooper ran a big race last time out in defeat. And in race number 8, I went 3 deep with Quiet Strength, Blazed and Confused, and Gray Charlotte. Both of us were doing good, yes, Jason, with our late pick 5 and Rainbow 6 till that last race.
Yeah, we didn't have the speed. I mean, we didn't have the speed. Who wired the field yesterday and paid around $30 in the process. That is a very difficult cash out. I mean, obviously a race, 90% of the field, first-time starters, maybe even over 90%. So, yeah, you're 3 deep to close things out. You've got, I think, the 2 main stories going into this third race included in that 3-horse spread as we start the rainbow. And I think the number 1 subplot to this race is the returning number 5 subsidiary, who's never not just she's run bad on the turf, she has not been a turf horse consistently throughout her career, but she's back off a 6-month layoff for trainer Mark Cassie. She's the main story of the race with her early speed, and I'm assuming you're taking her off the bench to hopefully wire the field?
Yeah, you know, she was third sprinting on the grass at Saratoga last August. She returns to the turf. A couple of really solid sprint efforts on the dirt before the layoff, which includes that third and second place finish at the $25,000 level. So I wanted to see that this horse ran okay on the turf, coming back from Mark Cassie. Luca Panici got that speed. Luca very sneaky with horses with speed on the front end. Then I just thought, if all those things put together, that subsidiary might be the one to beat in here. But as I mentioned, I went 3 deep in this field.
And you included my top selection. You've got capping your try in the number 6, Fast Venezuela, who I think, again, the pecking order starts with subsidiary off the layoff, yet the other key cog to this race is a 3 filly rematch from the 7th over at Gulfstream on September 17th. That was a time we saw the turf course over there in Howendale get very speedy and tilted towards the inside. And sure enough, that was a race dominated by Sugar Bolt, who wired the field, and even the rail horse Take the Over sat on the rail and was the only one gaining ground in deep stretch. Off that stated, I'm going to give a look to the 6 Fast Venezuela, whose turf sprints 2 and 3 back were good, and I just think in hindsight she was a little bias compromised, being in that very difficult position where you're chasing outside on a track that, again, was just favoring inside position runners.
Yeah, going to the Steve Cliceris barn after the claim does an excellent job with the turf sprinters. So the new connections, they're going to keep the status quo. They got Edgar Zayas in the saddle today. I used Better Than Your Ex, who's returning to the turf. Followed that upset victory, maiden victory, comes back, upsets again against 12-5, 2 lifetime foes, and then 4th against 23 lifetime claimers on a sloppy track. How good have Maria Bowerstock's horse has been running? She's had like 3 or 4 victories over the last month or so across town. I think she even had one here at Gulfstream Park West, I think, or maybe it was closing day over at Gulfstream Park.
We'll move on to the 4th race here. We'll start the late pick 5. Florida-bred 2-year-old maidens. Good little race to start the late 5 on this 8-race Thursday. There's some overlap, which I didn't love originally when I was putting in my early pick 5 and late pick 5. But as I started to fool around with different iterations, again, I am very much I'm pro Lake Parima today, who's probably going to be in the neighborhood of even money, or maybe 4 to 5, probably around even money. I don't know if she'll be that low at 4 to 5, but again, I just like the difference, the disparate difference on paper between Heals the Soul and the 11. This dude's no fool, pair of second-time starters from very different spots. I used a bunch in the last race. Again, a field dominated by firsters, and I got a $24 play. But off the bat, I think the biggest story to this fourth race field is Heals the Soul. And I just don't see this horse being a price in this race, coming out of a race that came up fairly gaudy in terms of the number this horse got on the synthetic at Presque Isle. Watching that race replay, this horse got a very good ride, sat inside, angled out, and was second best. I pulled the chart because I wanted to emphasize, although this race, when I first saw the number, at least the buyer number, I raised my eyebrow a little bit and was a little incredulous, yet horses, as you can see, have come out of this race at PID and have run exceptionally well with 3 next out winners.
Yeah, 3 next out winners. You gelded son of Maclay's music, with Edgar Zayas. First outing ever on a dirt surface. So coming out of that key race, Heals the Soul. I think just with that buyer figure, that people are going to give this horse a second look. But it was good that you added the number 11. This dude's no fool, stretching out to 3/4 of a mile today.
What'd you think of this horse's debut? I mean, he's one of 5, by the way, coming out of that September 13th race. And, I mean, this looked like, I'll throw it to you off the break, This looked like roller derby coming out of the starting gate.
He did. He had some trouble coming in. Everybody bang, bang, bang. He ran a pretty good race in there. I went back and looked at it this morning again, and he ran an okay race in there. He got in a lot of trouble at the start with a doo-wop Don, too. Now, watch this. He makes this big move to get the lead after. Remember how far back he was after that start. So he comes up, and he really makes a nice move up here. So I think he's a major player this afternoon.
And he, in a way, and this was something we had noted, and he'll lose a tough one to Carson City Kid with the 4 doo-wop Don, who was no impact third. Didn't run badly, but certainly ran nowhere near as the top 2, including the number 5, This Dude's No Fool. But this horse kind of goes against the grain of just what we're used to seeing with trainer Bobby DeBona. This, for the most part, is more of a real bread and butter, blue-collar type stable. This is not a spot we normally see Bobby D with a $60,000 2-year-old purchase by First Dude, yet I feel like This Dude's No Fool over a dirt track clearly ran well enough to warrant almost a co-headlining status going into this race. And then you've got Safi's horse, the Firster, who I don't know what to make of a horse that was an RNA as a yearling for $37,000, yet later sold as a 2-year-old in training for about half that at $20K. But as you had noted in your Rainbow Six, seems to be working quite well up at Palm Meadows.
Yeah, he's got that bullet working, 47 flat, and just the connections. I want to show you a stat with Safi Joseph Jr. With his 2-year-old first-time starters, these are Coulter geldings on the dirt. He's 5 for 15, 33%, 53% in the money, 382 the return of investment just over the past couple of years. And Big Frank, the owner, remember, Frank is a friend of mine, so a little bit of a rooting interest in there for him.
Did you like the horse?
Yeah, I like the horse, yeah. No, I didn't talk to him. I just know him. I haven't seen him. So Big Frank, I had to put him on the ticket there, and we'll see how he runs this afternoon. But I couldn't leave him off the ticket for all the reasons we just mentioned. Working well, Safi Joseph Jr., I had to put him on my Rainbow Six ticket.
First is going to have to be good, and I think he's a part of the conversation. But if he wins this race first out, he may be okay. That looks like a very deep field going in, and certainly a highlight on this opening Thursday of the fall season at GPW. Lake Parim is up next as we move on to the 5th. And you size up this field, and yeah, maybe she's had a little bit of that bridesmaid vibe at winless in 6 with 3 seconds, but was beaten at a good second. Although she lost, she was second in a fairly determined second behind a layover odds on Maker Ramsey dropped out and Act Like Artie. This is the spot for a horse who, again, I think is a likely winner, probably in the neighborhood of around $4 from that inside post.
Yeah, drops a little, turns back to the mile. Pair of well-meant turf outings, as you mentioned, at the 25 level. Kent Sweezy, you got Angel Arroyo, had a 3-win day yesterday, handling 3rd start of the current form cycle. Looks like the one to beat in there. I mentioned earlier that I also used the number 2, Let's Not Get get too excited on my ticket. It was fourth behind Lake Parima when they hooked up at a mile in August. Renews that rivalry. Thought ran a good second last time out. Figured maybe I was a little afraid of that horse, but I think you're right about Lake Parima being the one to beat.
Got a nice rivalry going as we turn the page and we move on to the technical feature today. And there's certainly some quality and class to go around in this conditioned optional claiming race for the 3-and-up fillies and mares on the dirt going a mile. But it is funny as we go to the last out performance in the sheer drama stakes with the Kathleen O'Connell train, This Is My Time. She will lose to a much improved Terry Pompey trained horse in Aerosol, who is the number 2 on this particular afternoon at 9-5. But the fact of the matter, and Terry, of course, has the rail posted number 1 Aris Indy in this upcoming 6th race on the program. So, again, you've got a filly who does not escape the wrath of Terry Pompey, but is very good in her own right. And what caught my eye a few starts back with This Is My Time, it was her 3rd-place finish here in mid-July. I just think this is a filly by Carpe Diem that wants more ground, and you get a sense of that chug-along, grinding, galloping style where she had finishing 3rd. I think stretching back out to a mile and adding that first turn into the mix is just going to help her out. And it just, aside from her ability to this point, and I think her affinity for liking a longer race, there's also the fact of the matter, Ronnie. I mean, I really get a sense she is ascending upwards for Kathleen, and I think is pretty good, this horse.
Yeah, sharp winner at the mile. A couple of starts back for Kathleen. Edgar Zayas handling first trip. Now, this will be around 2 turns this afternoon. The mile here is 2 turns. And I use the number 4, who you have a 3rd and 2nd, Beijing Girl, who's returning to the main track after following a 4th-place finish behind recent Preakness winner, that Swiss Skydiver, in the Grade 2 Gulfstream Park Oaks. Poor showing on the turf in the Honey Rider, so I went and looked at a stat on Rowan Crichton over the past couple of years. He doesn't do this often, but when he does it well. He's turf to dirt, 61 to 180-day layoff. He's 3 for 6, 50%, 83% in the money. 616 is the return of investment. So not a stat that he does a thing that he does all the time, but when he does it well. So put that one in 2nd. Harris Indy, Terry Pompey, just a great summer. You could never leave her off your ticket.
It is pretty wild looking at Rohan's horse being 105 to 1 and finishing 4th in the GP Oaks on that Florida Derby undercard, beaten less than 4, and just seeing the exploits of Swiss Skydiver. I mean, who next to Rachel Alexandra may have to this point put up as good a 3-year-old filly season as I can remember with what she's accomplished.
She was just so game in that win in the Preakness. It was just a great race. She's a good one.
She's a very good one, and then you think of her shipping back and forth across the country and basically starting more or less every 4 weeks to 5 weeks in a Grade 1. Just an unbelievable campaign for trainer Ken McPeak. The 7th race on the afternoon, I really like races 4, 6, and 7 today, and this will be the turf finale, and I think it's an appropriate close to the grass on the card. It's just a hard-hitting, quality-filled group of 25K claimers, I think led by Ronnie Spatz's horse on the outside in the 11, Rocket Joe Copper. You and I landed on the same price horse, who we'll expound upon in a second, but assuming Rocket Joe Copper pulls a respectable trip, and he's got Edgard, so that certainly raises your confidence level, although this horse didn't draw that well in stall number 10 this afternoon. I really liked the effort last time out, and just the overall form that this Iowa-bred son of Rock the Rock has had in his 2 races here in South Florida. Here he is losing to a very good Mike Maker horse in Bourbon in May, who was, I think, 2nd or 3rd in a high-level allowance race yesterday afternoon at Keeneland. Dangerous horse, and again, the quote-unquote horse to beat in this upcoming 7th race, Ronnie, is Rocket Joe Copper.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, both you and I looking for a little bit of a price. I know I was with Famous Fact, but when you're handicapping this race, you could see this performer just thought Rocket Joe Copper was the one to beat in here. But Famous Fact has a chance to run very well in this spot.
Yeah, let's go back to his last start. It was going 5, so it's a bit of a different ball game for this horse, who's had some lengthy layoffs throughout his career, yet has some talent. Very good ride from Marcos Meneses. Just sat on the rail, and he'll finish a fast finishing 2nd behind Fully Loaded, who came out of this race to win yet again for trainer Juan Rizzo. And the one real defining trait of this performance we're looking at on September 6th was the fact that outside of Famous Fact, nobody really gained all that significant ground. And in looking at the chart, I wanted to emphasize that was a race, I think underscoring just how good of a performance this Gelding by Factum put forth was the fact that nobody outside of Famous Fact gained an inch in that race where you had Fully Loaded who pressed outside. He wins by a neck. Famous Fact, we just saw him come up the fence to finish second from 6. Yet the two other speeds in Harry on the Loose and Take Charge Dude were easily third and fourth. This was a strong performance out of a horse who might just be, and he's come back in good shape, might just be sitting on his best effort in quite some time for trainer Juan Rizzo.
Previous winner at the distance, and also a previous winner on the Gulfstream Park West turf course. So Famous Fact, my top pick and your top pick. Close it out with Benefactor in there, who may benefit the most when turning back to 7.5 after yielding late when finishing second, going a mile at Gulfstream. Terry Pompey, Angel Arroyo.
I gave him a look, and I think he, along with even the 3 who I have fourth and Wise to Listen, both those horses, their last out turf efforts were solid in their own right. Are they this level as they both step up at good prices and face better? Guesswork abounds. This is a difficult 8th race to talk about at 11:40 in the morning as we close down the card with a 2-year-old filly, $50,000 to $40,000 maiden claimer, and it's just quite simply a field, I mean, dominated by first-time starters. Yet that being said, with the firster status, you've got one in here for KO, Antonio, Eddie Plisa, Victor Barboza, and trader Carlos David. So, I mean, you're talking a handful of barns that could be very dangerous here in the last race.
Well, the 5, Quiet Strength, is the daughter of Wicked Strong and a half-sister to Mr. Jordan, who absolutely loved Gulfstream Park West, made $860,000 that horse the hard way. He's got him training forward, hard training forwardly for the debut. If she could run like her brother, Mr. Jordan at Gulfstream Park West and won multiple stakes here, she might be able to run well.
No, he did like it here. He was by Cantharos, and did he debut in a maiden claiming race? I don't remember. I wasn't down here at the time.
No, he won his debut. I think he won at Gulfstream Park West. I remember meeting Jordan, his grandson that he was named after. And I don't remember if it was maiden claiming or it was maiden special weight.
No, he loved it here, no doubt, in Miami Gardens. We'll see the 5, Quiet Strength by Wicked Strong. I wound up guessing, and hopefully I'm not a day late here and $1 short with trainer Carlos David, who picked up 2 wins yesterday afternoon, including a good-looking Summerfront 2-year-old firster that won in Shady Summer. I'll take the 9 Blazed and Confused here in the last, as we, of course, take a little time out on GPW today, up to Pete Aiello next for those Thursday scratches and changes.